Hello there, Eagles fans. Welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we're recording Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. Got a lot to get to today, Dad. How you feeling?
Good. Happy spring.
That's right.
Spring has sprung.
That's right. Spring has sprung, which is the time of growth, of new things, of fresh beginnings. Similar to what we saw from one of our favorite Eagles, one of our all-time favorite, athletes ever, Brandon Graham, calling it a career after 15 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 Super Bowls, 2-time Super Bowl champion, has as many Super Bowls as the Eagles franchise does.
Right. He played in 3, which is amazing when you think about it. It is three Super Bowls in 15 years. That's what, 1/5 of his career is up to Super Bowl.
Yeah, it is
it's pretty
true.
wild when you think about it.
It's true. Incredible career, man. We don't want to keep on him for too long because we'll kind of get emotional. But obviously, we just got to talk about it. First round pick, 13th overall back in 2010. After 3 seasons, labeled a bust. But man, how smart of Howie, or even I guess Chip Kelly at the time, really, and Lurie just to keep him on the team, keep him going, keep him running out there, and everything like that, and just what a career.
It just shows you now. Normally, you hear about different players, everyone's a different personality. He was just one of those guys that just was a locker room guy that everyone liked. Even though he maybe wasn't the greatest player, especially when he first came out, but he just was one of those grinder type players. Continued, and it's so funny because he was always one of my favorite players, even back in the after 3 or 4 years. And you'd say, man, he only got 6 sacks this year, but it sure looked like he could have had 10 or 12 or 15. Like, he was that guy. He was always that guy. A great run defender, just a great player. He was a starter for many, many seasons.
I remember in 2016 when he got his second team All-Pro, he only had 5.5 sacks.
Yeah, which just shows you. Yeah,
I remember it happening, and we were like, he's so much better than that, though. Like, that's not. It's so misleading. Like, he is one of the best defensive ends in the league at that point. 7th, 8th year in the career. Yes. It was like he was one of the and by far, I mean, in my lifetime, best run blocking edge defender ever. He was unbelievable against the run. He didn't always have the numbers for sacks, but against the run, best I've ever seen.
Yeah, now he did get 11 and 22, which was our big sack year. We think we had 70 as a team. That's when Reddick went off for 18 or 17, whatever he had in the regular season.
16, yeah,
in the regular season. But it's funny. I forgot all about it until we were talking about him just the other day. And he was a 15-year on the team, and he only really played 14 years because in 2021 he tore his Achilles in the second game of the season.
He actually played 13 years because in 2011 he only played in 3 games.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's really wild when you think about it. But he just kept. He's one of those players that just continued to grind it out. And he stayed here for 15 seasons. So. Yeah. And it paid off. He got to play in that last Super Bowl, which was incredible.
Right. Not only that, I mean, obviously, in our own opinion, obviously the playmaker of the greatest play in Philadelphia Eagles history
can never go away. That's right.
It can't be erased. And I remember in the night I was in Nebraska, and when we won that game, we won the Super Bowl, and we called each other. We were talking about it, and I was like just getting emotional talking about Brandon Graham and just how. It wasn't just some lean for from like a loan from the offseason, a free agent who made the play, or even a player who's been around for a little bit. No, it was homegrown. It was a homegrown guy who was our guy, and he was called a bust. I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it.
Yeah, but for sure, I mean, like you say, he definitely had struggled in the beginning. It's funny how we heard some things this past week about how. A lot of it had to do with one of the coaches that we had at the time was not a fan. Yes. And just continually kicked him down, I guess, when he was not doing so well. And I'm looking at the snap counts here when he was a young fella. And then it looks like in 2013, he only played 27% of the snaps.
Wow.
So, I mean, you could see 2 years later, it was 71, 75, 69. So, I mean, he definitely, upped his numbers after probably that coach had left. I'm guessing the coaching regime changed, but, I'm sure he's one of those guys that would never talk about that either. Would never blame a coach.
No, not at all.
But I never heard of that story until you were telling me just the other day. And I went, wow, that's makes sense,
Yeah.
Probably rode him hard and continually just, put him down or whatever. And
He never stopped.
yeah, so
It's incredible.
Luckily, he stayed with the team, and now he played in 3 and won 2 Super Bowls.
That's right.
And it's really, we knew he was going to go out. I mean, there's no way, at that age and think, come on, man, you got that on top.
Well, after winning the Super Bowl, and not just that, getting to play in the Super Bowl, and then re-tearing his triceps or bicep in the Super Bowl. Yeah, you can't keep playing, and I think it was a message from above. He probably took it that way, that he was like, you know what, I'm going out on top with 2 of them. No one else can say that. Yeah. No other Eagle can say that ever. I mean,
retired, yeah.
Unless you go back to the 1960s.
Who knows? Yeah, there's probably players that retired.
Bednarik, he played in 49 and won the championship, and then played in 60 and won the championship. So he's the only other Eagle to go out after winning his last one. I mean, obviously, Lane Johnson will continue to play, and hopefully he can get another 4.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's going to. He's got 3 more seasons. That's what he says he wants to play. Hopefully we can keep him, for at least 2 of those playing at the level he's playing right now, because he hasn't missed a beat in 10 years now.
But this is about BG. So.
That's right, buddy.
But even it's unbelievable.
So you had 2011 pulled up there too, I see.
I had it. This isn't him anymore. I pulled up Bednarik to talk about him.
Okay.
But just want to congratulate him on a career and thank him for everything he did for our franchise, including giving us our first ever Super Bowl. I mean, it's undeniable that that's the biggest play in Eagles history.
Definitely.
I mean, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
Because
even though the Gene interception touchdown, but it wasn't the game sealing.
No.
This was late in the game.
Yeah.
Patriots had the ball.
4-2 warning. I mean,
yeah,
it was the play. They finally got it. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like you say, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. So, I mean, I don't have that picture here. I have it somewhere, but I don't have it up here.
It's down there.
But I do have that picture with him knocking the ball out of Brady's hands, which, again, just goes back to being incredible. So,
yep, that's the photo we always talk about. If you have a bar, if you have an Eagles bar in Philly or out whatever,
being 8 by 10.
You have an Eagles bar. That's the photo you have to have. You have to have the Brandon Graham sack. It's the most important photo. It's the most important photo of our franchise. There's no doubting it. Okay, let's talk about free agency a little bit, Dad. That was our only player to retire. Let's talk about some departures. So we spoke a couple weeks ago or a little bit ago about guys that were leaving, but some stuff has happened since then. Pardon me, sorry. Mekhi Becton, big name for us, going to the Los Angeles Chargers on a 2-year, $20 million deal. It's good for him. He got some money, and he really was not going to get that money here. That's more money than we would have paid him. We appreciate what he did for us. We appreciate watching him and his emotion and everything that he fought through to play at really an incredibly high level and start for a Super Bowl winning team with the greatest. I mean, his name is stamped now as being on an offensive line with the greatest rushing season of all time. He's the starter of the greatest rushing offense of all time.
That's right. And he came in, really, once he won the position, he didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
He maybe started all the games, but that last game against the Giants, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
But, he was incredible. It was a great story to go along with a lot of the other stories we had. But, we're going to miss him. I'm sure we're going to miss him. It's a shame. He was one of the guys I thought for sure was going to stay around just because. But you never know. That's just the way it works in the NFL, and especially in today's NFL. So, once you win a Super Bowl or you're a really good team, they start pilfering your roster, and you got to be ready.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But good luck to him. We appreciate everything he did, and champion. Let's talk about Fred Johnson, another offensive lineman. So losing 2 pretty pivotal offensive linemen. Fred Johnson, not a starter, but was our swing tackle this season and started a couple games at, I think, 3 or 4 games at left tackle and a game or 2 at right tackle.
Yeah.
So, he was an important part of this team, and he played well when he had to. He was off to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll see if he gets a starting position over there. I'd be very happy for him. But he's one of those players that you're like, man, it's going to be a hard one. I understand leaving. He wants to be a starter and have a chance. He wasn't going to have that chance here to start at tackle, and he definitely. At Mekhi Becton, you can move to guard. Fred Johnson, you cannot. He's 6'7", 326 pounds. Wasn't going to happen. But, it's a bummer to see him leave. We're going to have to replace that swing tackle position, and
that's right.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, for those that listen to podcasts, the swing tackle is kind of an important player on most teams. That means he can play various positions.
He can play either tackle
and
position.
we feel very confident about him going in there. And we've had him a few times on our roster here in the last few years. And
been with us since 22 to 24, so 3 seasons with us. He was on the team that went to the Super Bowl and lost. But yeah, he was on our team.
Yeah, and he's on the roster and gets to go out as a champ as well. So
Yep.
he'll be getting sized for that ring here in another couple of weeks, maybe.
They already did. Oh yeah, they already did the
did that?
sizing a few weeks ago. Yeah,
They didn't call me.
I was surprised. Yeah, they didn't call Rosie, my daughter, either. It's her. Thanks to her, we have a championship. It's funny. They really sized them early this year. I remember after the Super Bowl, like 2 weeks later, I was like, oh, they were posting ring sizing. I'm like, holy crap, that was fast. But yeah, Fred Johnson, tough to see, and we've got to replace that backup tackle position for both sides. Another big name leaving for us, maybe not a big name in the NFL, like a big splash, but a big name in the Eagles. In the last decade, a big name, Avonte Maddox. Going to the Detroit Lions on a 1-year deal. I kind of understand this one as well for both sides. I thought Maddox had a really tough season this year. I thought he played well when he had to play sparingly, but when he was a starter, he definitely struggled early on in the season before Coop came in. But he had that huge play in the Super Bowl when he came in fresh.
He had a night out.
He made the play. When he was called upon, he made the play.
Great play.
Yeah, it was great. And the next play was the ice.
That's right.
Next play was the Devontae touchdown.
Big touchdowns. But it's funny, too, because, as we talked about who's going to come and who's going to go a few weeks ago, Devontae was another one that I said was going to stay. Avonte was going to stay. And it's funny because, we really struggled with this one because 2 years ago, was it like 2 years ago? Or even last year, and I said, he's gone. Get out of here.
Well, I think in 2022, he was playing unbelievable. If you remember that Dallas game, he almost sacked Dak. He had a tip pass.
He's everywhere.
Blocking guys in the back. He did sack Dak. He was unbelievable in that game. But man, he did drop off
last year.
Pretty big last year. He was also hurt, and he's a pretty injury-prone player in his career with us. And then this year was he struggled early on. Coop came in, and it was tough because once Coop came in, coincidentally or possibly because of him, our defense became the number one defense out of nowhere. So, it's a bummer to see him go. He's been with us since 2018, got to be on 2 Super Bowl attending teams, won 1. We drafted in the year that we won the Super Bowl back in 2018. He had a nice career with us.
7 seasons.
7 seasons. And I understand he wanted to leave. It's better for his spot because he has a chance to be a starter. He wasn't going to start here. There's too much depth. There's too many young players at the
youth movement has begun.
Exactly.
It's the way it's going to go. We talked about it as well. We think when the draft comes up, we're going to be replacing that position, if not once or twice, and definitely be looking for free agents, which we've already kind of looked at a few, but go ahead.
Yep. Next one's going to be Paris Campbell, kind of the smallest name on the list. Paris Campbell joined the team. We kind of expected him to be that number 3 receiver. Never really broke through. I think he caught a touchdown in that Buccaneers game earlier this year when our team was at an all-time low. He's going off to the Dallas Cowboys, gross, unfortunately, but he's got to, if he wants to keep his career alive, it makes sense. He wants to go somewhere. He'll be on a 1-year deal in the division.
It makes sense. I mean, for him, we were reaching for straws last season, trying to get wide receivers out there, and his name came up, and he was on the team, but I don't think he really ended up doing really much at all this year. So it's kind of a bummer for him, but for him to get signed somewhere else, he wasn't going to do much here this year.
Still a pretty young player, 27 years old. He had some good seasons in the past. Keep on going down. It's got if it has his NFL stats on there at all, maybe it doesn't. He had. I don't think they have it on there. But he had I think 1 year where he had like 600 yards or so. So he was pretty good early in his career. I think he just maybe slowed down a little bit. We'll see if he's got anything else. Hopefully he doesn't, since he's playing for Dallas. That's it for our departures that we've last talked about. One arrival since we last recorded, Dad, and it's kind of a big one. Azeez Ojulari. I want to talk about him a little bit. Former Georgia Bulldog, played on that Bulldog defense. I think he played with guys. He played with Nolan Smith. He knew them, but he was a senior, I believe, when they were freshmen. So, maybe it wasn't that. He's a junior or something. College is weird. They always leave a little bit early on and everything. But he played with them, but he wasn't a part of the defense with them. But still, second-round pick. 50th pick overall by the New York Giants back in 2021, out of Georgia, like I said. 22 sacks in his career, has had a couple injuries here and there, hasn't played a ton of games in his career. But, this is a really low-risk, high upside signing.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal. It's $4 million on the docket. So, he's played 11 games, and the year before 7, and then before that 11, I think. So,
yeah, I think
it's just he's kind of injury prone. So hopefully we can get him over that hump.
Rookie year 17, then 7, then 11, and 11 the last 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I knew it was in
46 games total in a 4-year career is not great, but a total of 46 games, 37 quarterback hits. He gets there a lot. He gets back into the field, 21 tackles for loss, total of 107 combined tackles, and 22 sacks in those 46 games. Yeah. What's that? A sack every other game, kind of?
Still relatively young, and he's going to come to a team that's already got pretty much established some of the defense. The tackles and some of our defensive linemen. So hopefully he can just be another plug and play type player, and hopefully he's banking on himself here. He just took a 1-year deal, so it makes sense for you to, if you're going to take a 1-year deal, you might as well take it on a team that's got a chance to do things and has some good players already there, and you don't have to really take the load yourself. So. We know our defensive ends who are already going to be our starters, so he's just going to be another one to hopefully come right in and jump right in it and get along with everybody.
Yeah. Also, important to point out, Ojulari, only 24 years old. This is. I kind of want to take this and lead us into our discussion. Kind of what I just put on here last second before we came up here. The defensive end position this year is very interesting. Now, I don't want to say, oh man, I'm not saying it's a top defensive end group in the league. No, it's a lot of young, unproven guys, but that's the point of it. Listen to the youth, I'm going to say on here. So all the defensive ends that we have on the roster that I can think of, Nolan Smith Jr., only 24 years old, just turned 24. Jalix Hunt, only 24 years old, just turned 24. Azeez Ojulari, only 24 years old, turns 25 in June, so he'll be 25 of the season. Bryce Huff, the oldest one, 26, he'll be 27 next month. And then you got Joshua Uche, 26 years old. He'll be 27 when the season starts. And Patrick Johnson, only 27 years old. This whole defensive end group is 27 years old or younger, maybe 28 when the season starts. But, that's just – I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, man, this is a top defensive end group or outside linebacker group. No, but, dude, this is – that the youth and the potential, the upside is enormous. Yeah. That's enormous.
And that's all we need really is guys that can fit in, that can just kind of be a plug-and-play type player. Yeah. Hopefully we can, get him under the defensive wing, teach him what we've got already, and continue to be dominant like we had last year.
And that's without the fact that I think we're going to be drafting a defensive end
definitely
earlier in the draft I know that means that not all these guys are going to be on the team, of course. That's what the draft is, going to ensure if we draft a defensive end. But still, I just got to point that out. That is huge potential. Everyone early picks except Bryce Huff, who's undrafted, but everyone else, first, second, third round picks, the potential is enormous, and that defensive end group is really exciting.
Some of those players you mentioned had fantastic seasons, playoffs, and Super Bowls. Both Smith and Hunt were amazing in that, and they're still, like you say, 24.
It's great.
And then we're just going to have to reload that end, and hopefully we find the right guy. And like you said, we probably will be drafting at the end.
Yep.
It's supposedly a very, very deep draft for defensive ends. So, second rounder, who knows? We're going to be doing some trading stuff. Who knows what's going to go on? But hopefully we get one that can fit in there, too, that's going to be 21 years old.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and actually get into the draft talk. So I don't want to talk too much about the draft. We're still a month out from the NFL draft. It's on April 24th, I believe. So we're still pretty far away, so I don't want to get too into it. I know you and I talked about the positions a little bit one time on here, I think, positions that we needed. Right. And, defensive end, guard was one, but now it's kind of, I don't know, we traded for that guard. The cornerback position, you're thinking depth, tight end position, and the linebacker position possibly, depending on Nakobe Dean. But that defensive end position, it's a very deep draft. Guys that kind of interest you. James Pierce, Shamar Stewart, James Pierce from Tennessee, Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M, Jalen Walker from Georgia, Nick Scourton, I think Texas A&M as well, and then Donovan E. I'm not going to say his last name. I have no idea how to.
Now you're picking guys that we have a potential draft, right?
These are all guys that are listed they're listed at the top position of the defensive end, and at most of the mock drafts I look at, they're still available, or they go around where we are,
right?
Or we pick them. Donovan E is the big one I see. Shamar Stewart I've seen go to us a lot. Jalen Walker's kind of the reach. He's considered a hybrid defensive end linebacker guy. He could play both. So to me, that's like if you could get him, you get him because he's from Georgia. Michael Williams is another one, but I think he's considered one of the best defensive ends in the draft, like top 2 or 3. So I think he's going to be going really early to some of those teams that really need defensive ends. So I think it will really be our pick of who's available, the best one available. Obviously, we might even be choosing offensive tackle or guard. We'll see what happens there, but. It'll be interesting to see, but I think the defensive end position. If I had to bet money on it, I'd say we're drafting defensive end in the draft this year, the first round.
Well, I mean, obviously we do need a guard as well, but I don't think it's as big a need as, because we have Steen and the new guy that we just got.
Green, yeah.
And hopefully, that's something we've got. But we've definitely the end to me is the place that we can go, and I think a lot of the teams are going to be. That are already set at end, they're not going to be going that direction. They're going to start learning from us and go interior offensive line and interior defensive line, which is going to open up the defensive end for us to be able to pick and choose the best one that we want. So hopefully that's the way it shakes down. But, it never does the way you want. So
yes. Well, that's the thing I was going to say. I got 5 mock drafts pulled up on here. I'm just going to read off all of them, what they think we're going to be picking and everything like that. Number 1 is the one I just saw you pull up. Actually, it's going to be NFL. This one has us taking Walter Nolan. Actually, has us trading up with the Rams to take defensive tackle Walter Nolan. I wouldn't be surprised. Howie loves taking defensive tackles. Vic Fangio may be pushing forward with the loss of Milton. But for me, I think Moro Ojomo. I think you got to see what he gives you as that third rotational guy. So to me, I think defensive tackle should maybe be addressed in the 4th round. So we have 4 picks in the 4th round.
4 fifths too. 4/5. The Eagles give the Rams. This is what they say: late 3rd round pick and one of their 5th round picks in order to move up 6 spots.
We have no 4ths. Do we have 4 5s?
4
right?
5s.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, we have 4 5s, no 4ths. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
talk about that
too. 2, a 3, and 4 5. So I think defensive tackle most likely will be drafted in the 5th round, and then of course one of those 5th will become 2 6th, and another one will become a 4th and a 7th.
And it makes sense. If you have the 4 5th rounds, you can pop them with a 3rd and move up. Maybe even more than 6 spots. You can move up 8 or 10 spots because teams are still looking. Find that team that doesn't have many draft picks because we know we got 20 in the next 2 seasons, so we've got a lot coming our way. So
these next few mock drafts on CBS, all of them, the top 4 that I'm looking at, have us taking offensive linemen. Donovan Jackson from Ohio State, a guard or interior offensive lineman. Josh Simmons from Ohio State, a tackle. This one right here lists us taking Charles Grant, a tackle from William and Mary. Right. And then Gray Zabel from North Dakota State, interior offensive line. Moving down a little bit, and then it's got Gray Zabel again, and then Nick Scourton, Texas A&M defensive end. So, yeah, you can never predict what's going to happen again. I was going to say, if I had money to bet on it, I'd bet on a defensive end. But really, if I had money to bet on it, I'd bet we don't pick in the 1st round.
Right.
I think it's very likely how we would trade back.
Yeah.
Get 2 seconds, next year's 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think he would do that.
Again, it all depends on how it shakes down. Like if you watch last year's draft, especially some of the recap type shows where they were waiting, hoping that Cooper DeJean would be there, and then they traded up to get him. And you could just see how he had his plan. And obviously, it was a home run. So we have a lot of faith in the fact.
One of my favorite clips to when they're watching that, and Jeffrey Lurie looks at him. Yeah, the Rams traded up. So that's that. Yeah, that's it. And then Braden Fisk, yes, and he picks up the phone and starts dialing. It's a great thing.
Fisk was a defensive lineman, right?
Oh yeah, he was great.
Amazing.
He was great for the Rams. Yeah, great pick on both sides. Yeah, I got to watch Draft Day. I was just talking about my buddy at work, man. I was like, man, I got to watch it. He asked me, he's like, have you ever seen that movie? I'm like, I love that movie. And that movie,
certain clips I love.
Oh, it's so good to watch. Yeah. Another draft on PFF here has us taking an edge. Donovan E., who I was talking about from Boston College. He kind of hangs around that fourth and fifth spot on the rankings of defensive ends. He really hangs around that area there. So, yeah, you never know what's going on, but it seems like that's kind of going to be his spot late in the first round. So that might be where we're looking. That he might. It's very likely he's the player that we call off the board that day.
Right now, again, I'm not a big mock draft guy. Just like I'm not a big college basketball guy. It's too much happening here.
Yeah.
I do look and see who they're talking, but it never shakes out the way they throw it down there.
No.
You just got to have faith in your GM and your guys, and hopefully they pick the right guy. And we know what we need. We know what we need to replace this year. Still have a tight end. We're still looking at maybe possibly getting a tight end. So I think that and defensive end are the two that I'm looking for us to go early. Now, other people are thinking probably defensive line, interior defensive line. But again, it depends who drops, and
so it's true.
Whatever happens.
I think Howie is definitely a guy who, after winning a Super Bowl, the biggest thing he's looking at is value. I don't think he's really looking for a position. I don't think he's going into this draft going, oh, yeah, we need to get this guy, or we need to get a tackle, or we need to get a corner. I think he's going, all right, I like these guys, but if this guy's here, we're taking him. If this guy's here, we're taking him. I think he's a guy who's thinking we got to take the best player at that spot is going to be on.
And it's funny because we always say that, but I've never really felt that the Eagles did that.
I know.
Took the best play. They knew what they needed. We're drafting for need. Now you kind of fill a couple of those holes that maybe some of the free agents left, and some of the, like I say, the 1-year contracts guys. So I think we can do that best available thing. If it's a great punt returner, kick returner, we may pick him up in the third round or something. That's something I think, it's going to be best available type guy,
I got to tell you, I don't think we will ever draft a special teams guy in the draft ever. I don't think we'll ever draft a punt returner, kick returner, especially since we just got that guy from Atlanta. I don't see us ever drafting a guy who's specifically supposed to be on special teams. I can't imagine. I think as much as I think the defensive end needs to be filled with all those young guys I was talking about earlier, how we might be thinking, okay, well let's take a defensive end with our second pick, and let's get another corner with our first pick. I don't know.
I don't know about trading down, but I mean, if it's just trading down with another bad team, maybe second round, fourth guy picking, like that kind of thing. I can see us doing that because gambling on the team's going to be bad next year, and we get there
next year, second round. I agree,
but I don't know. We'll see, but it is fun. I mean, I enjoy the whole draft process. It's just to me, looking at mock drafts is just
NBC Sports Philadelphia had us taking Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State. I think this one was put out before Lane kind of said he was planning on playing.
That's the other thing, yes.
So I think a lot of these mock drafts you have to remember.
And before we started picking and choosing these 1-year contract type guys, So
exactly. Derek Harmon, another big one from Oregon. This one's interesting. This is a defensive tackle from Oregon. Really great player, big dude, 313 pounds, 6'4.5". It reminds me a little bit of BG. Now, he's not a defensive end. BG's an outside guy. Their size is not similar. I shouldn't say. It reminds me of him. But he's from Michigan. He didn't play at Michigan, but he's from Detroit, the same city as Brandon Graham. He does wear the number 55. So I would be kind of excited to see him play here. In Oregon, would be kind of cool to see him play.
Well, that's like you were saying. One of the guys, you were saying that you'd like to see us not just get a defensive end, but get a certain type of defensive end. Not your slim, fast guy, but more your strong length guy. You know what I mean? And that makes sense. I mean, we do have kind of the defensive end now that are fairly underweight, not lighter than normal,
yes.
And you want to get a PG type, like you said, a guy that's got the 250 that can push a defensive tackle back into the quarterback.
Yeah,
and that makes sense. But we've seen Nolan Smith do that, even with his lighter status, if you will. I've seen him push some players around. Man, he's got some strength. So
yeah, I mean the big one for that would be Mike Green. He's the second most reps of the bench press at at the combine.
Right.
Strong dude. Again, I think I've talked about him before on here. Some sexual assault cases against him.
Accusations.
Yeah,
at this point.
the Eagles, we don't do that. And it's funny because people will say, "Oh, the Eagles." They'll take someone who's had some, bad past, and I get it. They talk about Jalen Carter. I think there's a tad bit of a difference between, being a knucklehead kid and doing something like that, and violence against women. It's a little bit different. The Eagles don't mess.
Even the Jalen Carter thing was not it was just something that happened. He wasn't driving the whole thing.
It was stupid. It was just them being stupid. Sad. Donovan E., the one I kind of talked about, 22 reps on the bench press. So another strong dude, but he is more so of a smaller size guy who kind of, can beat you on the outside. That's the big one that guy right there.
I'm looking at him, yeah.
And I think Shamar Stewart, he was another one who I think he's kind of a bigger dude. Let me see right here. Sorry. Weighs 291 pounds. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking for. 6'5", 267 on here. There we go. For me, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I was telling you before, it's easier to say this than to do it. I was saying to my dad off camera, man, I want like a Reggie White. Obviously, you can't just say that to happen. Everyone. I don't just want to have a bunch of small defensive end guys who and it's great. I love watching that stuff, but I do want a BG kind of guy who's bigger and who takes on the linemen and can beat them.
It could also be like first down, second down, as opposed to your third round special guy who's fast as heck and just gets around people.
Agreed. I agree with you there. Yes.
And that's kind of basically where Josh Huff was supposed to be playing because he was not really
Bryce Huff.
I get it wrong. I'm sorry.
I know it's okay.
But you know what I'm saying?
It's like Sidney Brown and Sidney Jones.
They talked about him picking him up. They said he wasn't really particularly a first down guy. Well, getting this guy you're talking about would be a first round guy, which would first down guy if you don't mind. And in a definite run type situation. So so you can kind of space out your other guys and use them basically as pass specialists, as they call them.
Definitely. Yes, definitely.
But I agree with you on that.
Yep. All right, let's move past the draft. That's something I didn't notice, and I want to kind of talk about with you. I only saw this before we came on here. The fans listening at home probably already knew all about this, but I didn't realize that they had released this already. PFF released their top 101 players of the 2024 NFL season. I don't know if you saw this at all. I completely missed it.
Is this that one that they do near the beginning of the season?
No, that's going to be
ESPN.
That's the NFL Network. That's the one. That's the one the players vote on. Right. This is the PFF rated. We're just going to go through the Eagles. I believe there's 13 Eagles, maybe 12 Eagles on this.
Nice.
Start off with number 91, quarterback Jalen Hurts. Little low, 91. You kind of like to see him a little higher, but I mean, hey, top 100 players. Yeah. Okay, I'll take that. And I don't know how many quarterbacks finished above him.
Right. So well, there's going to be some quarterbacks up there that barely chucked the pass last year. It's just silly the way they do that. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. In the top 100.
I like to see it. Of course, Hurts. They'll never give him his due until we get 3 or 4 rings, which is
I'll never give him his due.
Every possible is going to happen.
I'll never give him his due.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Get a few more rings and it'll shut everybody up, and we don't even care about it. We just want to win.
That's right. Milton Williams, number 90, right ahead of him.
That's so the guy that broke the bank this year for $104 million.
Only number 90.
91.
Only number 90.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was highest rated pass rusher in the postseason. Completely highest rated pass rusher in the postseason. And that helped him get
good PFF numbers as well through the season. I don't know what he ranked at the end of the year.
I don't know. Next one going to be, it's popping me all around here. Sorry. There we go. Quinyon Mitchell, number 78.
That's a joke.
Too low.
Oh, no way. He should be in the top 20. That's amazing.
Players in the NFL.
Yeah. I think so. Top 25. Yeah. Number 1 defense, won the Super Bowl. That's ridiculous.
Let me check how many cornerbacks were in this. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I want to see. How many cornerbacks were above him? Because it's kind of hard to say. I mean, he was above Sauce Gardner-Johnson, so you're pretty happy about that.
Okay.
Garrett Williams ahead of him, Christian Benford, Marlon Humphrey, Cooper DeJean. I was going to get to him in a second. Derek Stingley Jr.
That's good names.
It is, yeah. Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs. Yeah. And then Pat Surtain, the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, well,
so pretty good context right there. He's a pretty good group of people right there.
Still think 78's too low. He should be up higher.
Well, it's funny. Go to the next 177. Defensive lineman Jalen Carter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You're not too happy with this list, are you?
No, Jalen Carter, everyone that you listen to, especially in the playoff football, and then when they get to the Super Bowl, the game wrecker. I mean, he's Aaron Donald, man. He has taken Aaron Donald's spot. He's the best defensive lineman. Chris Jones, did you see the Super Bowl? Did you see the Super Bowl? Okay? Chris Jones was good, but he's not the best defensive lineman in the game. Jalen Carter is, hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been held on every play. He was held in the Super Bowl on every play. They can't stop the guy.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Speaking of Chris Jones, played against Landon Dickerson, who's number 64.
Nice. Well, he's definitely in. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
He's amazing, and he got injured at the end of the year and continued to play great.
Yep.
He carried that knee injury probably for the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season because he was definitely injured early on, mid-season, and continued to play. Fantastic player.
A 78.6 overall grade, 79.4 run blocking grade. Both of those were in the top 8 of the qualified possible guards. And single game performance of his career's best 194 grade in the team, the win over the Rams in the divisional round.
Wow.
45th best player in the NFL, Cooper DeJean. I already mentioned him a little bit, but mentions, his picking off Patrick Mahomes, returning it for a touchdown, finished with a career best 90.9 PFF grade in the Super Bowl. So his best game was in the Super Bowl. Earned the top spot in the top 50, second round pick 86.3 PFF grade, led all cornerbacks in the NFL. Highest cornerback grade in the NFL this year.
So is he the top guy on the list?
Probably not. I would say. Well, I would.
Yeah. You saw Trent McDuffie, right? He's a corner.
I would agree, though, because to be fair, one interception in 15 games.
Yeah. I watched him all season. He took the team from a mediocre defense to the best defense in the league because, as we said, the whole season you got to cover tight in the NFL now. You can't play off, and that's what we always have played off. And once Coop came in, he played. Look at some of the tackles he made. Look at the game in the Cincinnati Bengals game, the tackle he made. The one against the Ravens when he took down King Henry.
I think the other thing that plays part in this is Cooper DeJean probably had one of the highest, I was going to say, tackle grades, but he probably didn't have as good of a coverage grade as Surtain, Derek Stingley. You know what I mean? It has a lot to do with that physicality,
and not so much a man-on-man type deal. They play that zone defense, but yeah. Well, I mean, these lists, when was it made? Who knows? It was made after the Super Bowl, apparently. Yeah. So
30th best in the NFL, wide receiver A.J. Brown.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. NFL's highest receiving grade, 96.3, when matched up against a lone defensive back. Wow. I mean, when you have him one-on-one, it's like game over.
It is game over. I mean,
we saw it 6 times this year. And it's funny because in the Super Bowl, everyone, because it was on a mass, media, or it was because it was on, the prime time of all prime time games, people kind of noticed, wow, they really just throw it up to those guys. And it's like, oh, you must not have been watching all season. That's what A.J. Brown does. He goes one-on-one on fourth down, and he's just gets past the guy. I mean,
it's funny.
It's 6 times this year at least.
It's funny how they talk, he's just one of those players like most of your wide receivers that'll yell at a player, yell at a coach, yell at a quarterback. A.J. did it in the Super Bowl as well. They had to bring it up, and who's the guy dumping the water on the guy's head? Who's dumping the Gatorade?
That's right.
So
let me check real quick. I kind of want to see how he ranks in wide receivers in the NFL. So Puka Nacua was above him.
Okay.
Nico Collins above him. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. So I mean, that's
to me. There's only 2, and one is Justin Jefferson because that guy is just the best.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah. You could throw a couple other names in there. CD. I know we're not big.
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't above. It's not above AJ. Yeah. So I mean,
they got one right. Then I guess we could say. But
that's right.
Nico Collins.
Great season for him. I mean, I think it also has to do with the numbers. AJ did only have a little bit over 1,000.
Right.
Nico Collins only 1,006, 7 touchdowns. Man, he really that's actually not as good. I don't know. He must have had some pretty good.
That's funny.
Catches or something like that. I don't know how they rank it. That's why I don't work for them. Number 18, next on the list for the Eagles, tackle Lane Johnson.
Wow.
Yep.
Finally getting a little due here. 6-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro, whatever he's got. Finally put him in there, huh?
I'm going to see if he's the highest rated tackle in the league. He is. Nope, no, he's not. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. We'll get to that in a second. So good for Lane. Next one's going to be interior linebacker, middle linebacker, Zach Bond.
Should have been defensive player of the year. Should have been MVP in defense if you can do that. I don't know. You said somebody's name earlier who won defensive player of the year.
Pat Surtain. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Bond doesn't have. Well, he's got. If you look at some of his numbers from some of the past defensive players of the year, he beat them all.
True.
We talked about it.
Didn't have the interceptions. That was the big problem with him. Only had like one pick. I mean, one in the Super Bowl, of course, but other than that, only had really one interception. 2 in the postseason, but not nothing much for the whole
fumbles, fumble recovery, sacks. I mean, he had it all, man.
Yeah.
Tackles for loss. Guy's amazing.
Getting into the top 10, number 10. Actually, we'll just go through all the top 10, not just the Eagles. Number 10, Saquon Barkley.
Okay. I don't know who you have above him, but he was the player of 2025, and not just because of an Eagles fan. Everyone would tell you that.
2024, but yes.
Sorry, 2024. He was the player. Offensive player of the year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we've talked about it. The MVP.
I don't know who else
put above him. God, in multiple sports, I guess I should just say football and basketball because I don't really follow I couldn't tell you who won MVP of baseball last year in either of the leagues. Right. Same with hockey, and I don't even know if they have an MVP in hockey. I have literally no idea. The MVP has gotten kind of destroyed. It just doesn't work anymore. It's a lie. It's a sham.
Yeah, that's great.
Mahomes has only 2 of them.
I don't even know.
In 7 seasons, he's the greatest player I've ever seen play. And I get it. Lamar Jackson's a great player, and so is Allen. I'm happy they got theirs, but it's just not real. And obviously, going back to 2017, Carson Wentz was the best player in the universe, not even up for debate. You actually literally, it should be illegal to debate that. You cannot debate it.
I agree with you.
And they gave it to Brady. I guess you can't. That's the other thing about MVP. They're like, oh, you missed the game. Oh, it's over. What? Like, Jalen Hurts 2 years ago should have won MVP. They gave it to Mahomes, and Hurts missed 2 games. You're like, that's it? Like, it's over? It's really stupid. It's really poor.
It is. Hopefully someday they fix it or come up with some kind of good grading system because right now it's ridiculous.
And in basketball, it's the same way. Every time I watch basketball, they're talking about the MVPs, and I just don't understand. How is this guy winning 3 MVPs? He's just not that good. I don't know. Whatever.
Same as Coach of the Year, but move on.
Yeah. Number 9, so everyone above Saquon Barkley. Number 9, Edge, TJ Watt, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Great player.
Yeah.
Did he play the whole season? Did he miss some games?
Let me see. 18 games?
Did he finish with 35 sacks?
Only 12 sacks.
Okay, so he shouldn't be nearly close to it.
18 games.
That's a down year for him.
He tied the NFL lead among all players with 6 forced fumbles.
That's good.
12 sacks in 18 games. That's pretty bad.
For him.
7 pressures. I mean, that's
for him.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's also counting grade against the run. 90.3 run defense grade. That was the best. Okay.
Right.
So he had the best run defense grade against all defensive linemen. Like all defensive linemen.
That's pretty awesome.
And a 90.1 pass rush grade, which was 6th. So, I mean, I guess together it does make sense. Number 8, you're going to get mad. Chris Jones, defensive tackle.
Great player.
He led all interior defenders with 88 pressures this season, 91.5 pass rush grade, and recorded at least 90. Missed 1 tackle all season long, and tied for the fewest among any defensive players who played at least 500 snaps.
Okay.
Number 7, center Creed Humphrey for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I've noticed a trend there.
Yeah, a little bit. Led the entire center, all 40 centers who played at least 300 snaps, 92.4 overall grade. 91.5 run blocking, best in the league.
How many yards did they run in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I don't know.
12?
The overall grade is the highest recorded by a center since Jason Kelsey in 2017.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Pretty funny.
I mean, I know he's a great player.
Number 6, not much to talk about here. The MVP, Josh Allen. Nothing much you can say there. Right. Number 5, Derrick Henry. So, wow. So they have Henry above Saquon.
Okay. So how do you even?
It's pretty funny.
How do you, did they go to the playoffs? Did they make the Super Bowl? Like, I know they were in the playoffs, but, I mean, Henry's great, but how do you do that?
Yeah, that is a confusing one.
So what did he finish with in the year? Barkley had 2,500 plus yards total every game this year.
Yeah, Derrick Henry total in the regular season ended with 1921,
right?
Plus 270. So
that's 91. That's
21. 91.
Yeah. So 300 yards short, if not 4.
Ooh, 16 touchdowns.
Okay.
19 touchdowns, including the postseason.
Saquon Barkley had 14. How about the playoffs? 3 in one game in the playoffs.
That's true.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's true.
And we got the push.
So the tush push ruins. It's going to ruin our running backs.
It takes, it's always going to be that way.
Saquon only 13 in the regular season, 5 in the postseason, 18. So one less. I know.
One less.
I don't know. I didn't do it.
So greatest running back of all time. So go ahead.
Number 4, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow belongs to be there. Unfortunately, his team stinks.
The highest Eagle on the list, number 3, offensive tackle, Jordan Mailata.
Wow.
Number 3, third best player in the NFL by
And
PFF.
did he get all pro? No.
Second team.
Oh, we did it. Okay.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It's okay.
I couldn't blame him for not getting first team. He did miss 4 games, which again, I guess because you miss a game, you can't get anything ever again.
That to me, that's. I mean,
it's got to be fixed, and I know people are gonna.
If you nitpick at everything,
people are going to pick at us because, as Philadelphia fans, it's bitten us 3 times now. Not just in the Eagles. Now I'm mentioning Joel Embiid as well, who's had some MVP stealing from him. Now, don't get me wrong, he's terrible and he gets hurt every freaking game. So I can understand now the hatred towards him. But there was a time where I didn't understand how anyone was winning an MVP over him. He was the best player I've ever seen. Well, okay, let's slow down there. But number 2, Myles Garrett, Cleveland Browns.
That's right.
Number 1, Lamar Jackson.
Okay, that's fine. So wait, Lamar Jackson's 1 and Hurts was 91.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where was Mahomes? 39.
Okay.
Isn't that funny? Not a great
bad year.
Yeah, not a great season for them. No. So let me see. I just want to check the quarterback listing. Kind of see. So Jalen, I think it looks like he was 1 of 8. Or he was 8 of 8.
Right.
Above him was Baker Mayfield at 63, Mahomes at 39, Herbert at 33, Jaden Daniels at 20, Josh Allen at 6, and Joe Burrow at 4.
You lost me at Herbert, okay?
So he was 8th. This is 8th.
Please. Did you see Herbert in the playoffs?
He's terrible.
Terrible.
You got anything else?
No, but these lists, I like talking about them. I like getting into them, but
we could talk more about them.
They kind of bother me. But yeah, no, we're good.
All right. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Comment down below how you feel about that list. What Eagles were left off it. Talk about talk about the draft, the free agency. Give your love to Brandon Graham in the comments. You can email us your questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, I'm Basil.
I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.